There's a fascinating new development in psychological research that challenges the legitimacy of many laboratory-measured psychological effects and phenomena. It suggests that these effects may not be genuine, but rather the result of individuals actively imagining or creating the outcomes they expect. This goes beyond demand characteristics, where participants simply behave in a socially desirable manner for the experimenter. Instead, it proposes that individuals have the ability to consciously control their perception and imagination, vividly producing the very effects being measured, effectively passing them off as real. If this is true, it raises significant doubts about the validity of numerous studies claiming to have identified genuine psychological effects. It prompts us to question how we shape our reality, both in response to others' expectations and our own. Ultimately, we must ask ourselves, is any psychological phenomena truly legitimate? These intriguing questions challenge the foundations of psychological research and invite us to re-evaluate our understanding of human perception and experience. As children, we possess a remarkable capacity to engage in fantasy and reshape our perception of the world through the power of imagination. In those moments, we become fully absorbed in our imagined experiences, completely unaffected by the distractions of reality. However, as we grow older, our understanding of the world becomes shaped by the demands of society, the need for order, and neurological changes that foster a logical comprehension of reality. On the one hand, this maturity equips us with the ability to function effectively, predict our environment, and approach challenges with reason. We develop a cognitive troubleshooter, ready to solve real-world problems. On the other hand, we may find ourselves disenchanted by the monotony of everyday life, gradually losing the sense of wonder and excitement that once accompanied our flights of imagination. While some of us may channel our imagination into creative pursuits like music, art, poetry, or mathematics, researchers suggest that we don't entirely lose our capacity to shape our perception of reality. Instead, we unconsciously respond to expectations and beliefs, although in a milder, diluted, and unintentional manner. Our inner child still exerts influence, just in a more subtle way. We mold our perceptions and internal experiences based on what we anticipate and believe. This insight reminds us that our imagination continues to play a role in shaping our perception, albeit in a different form than the immersive role-playing of our childhood. Researchers have made a fascinating discovery about the diversity of individuals' ability to manipulate their imagination and perception of reality based on their expectations. What's intriguing is that we often are unaware of this process, making our altered perception feel completely genuine. So, is it accurate to label participants in psychological experiments as faking the effects being studied, when they are simply using their internal state to achieve the desired outcomes? Perhaps psychologists need to put more effort into distinguishing between genuine causes and individual induced effects. This ability, termed phenomenological control, varies across the population, ranging from low to high. The crucial point here is that we unconsciously alter our perception of reality based on expectations. Just as we can direct attention to focus on specific stimuli or shift attention from one thing to another, we also possess the capacity to control perceptual and subjective experience of reality to achieve goals. This becomes particularly evident in hypnosis, where researchers now suggest that hypnotic effects stem from the exercise of unconscious perceptual control, rather than being a separate, inherently real phenomenon. In other words, individuals in hypnosis are not under the complete volition of the hypnotist, but instead experience the sensation of lacking control, when in reality they do have control. A classic example of this is the hypnotic suggestion of hand magnetism. Under hypnosis, individuals may genuinely feel as though an unknown magnetic force is pulling their hands together, leaving them with zero control over their movement. However, by simply informing someone that they are undergoing hypnosis and suggesting that their hands will be magnetized, the expectation of the experience becomes greatly amplified. In this case, the hypnotized individual may be unconsciously altering their perception, hallucinating a reality in which they are being hypnotized and have no control over their actions. This is an instance where top-down perceptual control is clearly at play. This raises questions about the credibility of hypnosis as a genuine phenomenon and suggests that people differ in their ability to unconsciously manipulate perception to align with their beliefs. The ability to modify our internal representation of reality extends beyond the laboratory and likely occurs in everyday situations. Remarkably, researchers indicate that simply manipulating people's expectations can significantly influence outcomes in cognitive behavioral modification treatments. For instance, a cognitive training program described in a positive manner prior to implementation yielded the strongest training outcomes compared to those who received a neutral description about the training program. This subtle yet impactful adjustment to people's expectations raises intriguing questions about the underlying mechanisms driving the effects of such interventions. Could trait phenomenological control be the key, allowing individuals to skillfully shape their perception and subjective experience to meet positive expectations? Or is it that interventions themselves directly produce the claimed effects? Now let's shift our attention to the footage on the screen. Do you hear that faint thudding sound in the background? If you do, it's likely that your perceptual control is at work, responding to the expectation of hearing a sound, even though the footage itself remains silent. Consider a social gathering or a job interview. If you anticipate it to go poorly, perhaps influenced by something someone told you, your unconscious mind will subtly mold your perception of reality to align with this negative expectation. You may start perceiving visual cues that reinforce this negative outlook, even if they are not objectively present. At times, you might misinterpret an email or message, initially aligning it with your expected interpretation, only to realize upon closer examination or correction that you misunderstood its true meaning. Or, imagine sitting in front of a white desk, but a hypnotist convincingly suggests that it is red. Some individuals would genuinely perceive the desk as red under hypnosis, overriding the stronger perceptual evidence indicating otherwise. These instances are not products of external reality. Rather, they are the result of our remarkable capacity to adjust and control perception. Our unconscious control of imagination and perception generates powerful influence, similar to the way children create vivid fantasies and make-believe worlds. But why have we developed this trait ability to alter reality? Some argue that as spirit possession experiences were common across continents and throughout history, often helping the person possessed to speak with the authority of a powerful spirit, the function of phenomenological control may have been to convince the person themselves of their specific cultural beliefs, especially of the spirit world, so that they could convince others of their contact with that world, bonding them to their group and enhancing their status. Because this ability is guided by our goals and intentions, it can fit whatever beliefs a given culture has. The ability to modify our internal representation of reality manifests in various contexts, including both research settings and everyday life. The impact of manipulating expectations on cognitive behavioral interventions raises intriguing questions about the mechanisms underlying their effectiveness. It prompts us to explore the role of trait phenomenological control and its influence on psychological phenomena, such as stress reduction through mindfulness, or the corrective effects of cognitive behavioral therapy. We observe how our perceptual adjustment and control can override external reality, much like the imaginative creations of children. It is a testament to the profound influence our unconscious mind holds over our subjective experience.